team, approval of option students, and approval of the retirement of Charles Brockman.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Jason, did you want to comment on accounts payable?
Yes, just a brief highlight of the month of December. Benefits expenditures of $446,179.09. Payroll of $1,319,424. Bills of $402,247 brought total expenses for the district to $2,169,944.46. General fund expenses totaled $1,988,211.69. And general fund revenue, which is like our checking account, that's why we pay particular attention to it. The revenue was $1,557,661.16. So we can look at historical data that will outline what will happen moving forward. We know that part of what will happen will be that our cash flow will drop just because it's a leaner time of month now once we get past the month of January. We talked a little bit about that in the past, so I'm not going to belabor it, but just so you know, January hopefully we see a little tax boost, and then after that it's pretty lean based on revenue projections and historical data. So we're going to discuss further how we can remedy some of these revenue expense differences in the coming meetings, but that will be addressed at the committee of the whole meeting, and we'll have to address this issue for future years. In budget terms, we're right where we should be. We talked about this the other night a little bit. We are at 32.65% expended of a 33.32% budgeted allotment per month after 4 months of the budget cycle. So we are 0.65% almost spot on to where we should be at this time of year. So that part doesn't bother me as much as what just the revenue coming in does. But those are questions that we can cover in the committee of the whole meeting. That just gives you a brief overview of where we're at in terms of the treasurer's report.
Any comments or questions for Jason? Okay. I have a motion and a second. Can I have your votes, please? And that is approved with all votes. All right. Next up, we have outstanding recognition. Our Employee of the Month will be recognized by Betty Reppel.
Yes. And our Employee of the Month is a wonderful paraeducator at Paddock Lane, Vicki Hakey. And Vicki has been with us for 20 plus years at Paddock Lane, and she is a valuable asset, possessing a deep background and knowledgeable history of our district. As a paraprofessional at Paddock Lane, Vicki is a hard worker and serves as a role model for all students and staff. She cares deeply about each student who walks through the doors, greeting them with a smile and assisting them should they need help. Vicki is a valuable resource in the classroom as well as throughout the entire building. In the kindergarten classroom, she assists with testing, math concepts, center activities, reading skills, as well as a variety of kindergarten activities. Anything asked of Vicki is taken care of immediately and to the highest level of quality. Her attention to detail, along with her depth of knowledge of young children reading and math concepts, is of vital importance in helping each child grow both academically and socially. Vicki is also very intuitive. She often anticipates what is needed and has it ready before she's even asked. This is apparent in the kindergarten classroom, at breakfast and lunch times, as well as when math and state testing take place. I'd like to insert, Vicki is the first one in the building that reminds everybody of math testing. She comes to me and she says, Betty, I'm going to need a substitute for, and she goes in and she has the patience of Job, as we used to say years ago, with 61 kindergartners helping each and every one of them take their math test. It's quite a thing to see Vicki working with the kindergarten children. She wears many hats. She is valued by all staff members and recognized by all children as one they can go to for help. Vicki is a coworker who is considered a very good friend and a person admired by all of us. I'd like to congratulate Vicki on being named our Employee of the Very much. She loves being with us at College Lake. Yeah, she's not retired never.
Okay, thank you.
I should mention she's Andrew's mother in case none of you.
Good job.
All right, now we're going to move on to the information portion of our meeting. First up, student update with Zach Zimmerman.
Okay. Starting off with the preschool, registration for next year will open Wednesday. Registration will be online as well as paper copies at the board office and preschool. Paddock Lane is participating in Music on the Trail with Donna Gunn. The week starts off with an all-school assembly on Monday, January 13th, and ends on Friday with an all-school presentation. Throughout the week, Miss Gunn will be working with 4th graders on music and literature based around traveling on the trails. Miss Gunn will be at both Paddock Lane and Stoddard this week. This week, the Safe School series will be held on Tuesday and Wednesday at Paddock Lane. Presentations will take place in each classroom. Kindergarten registration begins Wednesday, January 29th. Parents of incoming kindergarten children can go online and register for the 2021 kindergarten class. Beatrice Middle School voted on 6th graders to join Hope Squad before semester break. Tonight, the Hope Squad advisors and the rest of the Hope Squad are welcoming the new 6th graders and their parents to a soup supper and introductory meeting. Beatrice High School Music Department Picture Day for the Beatrice Day of the Sun is January 16th. Beatrice Music will also welcome guest clinicians from Kohler Middle School in Lincoln January 24th and guest clinician from UNL January 29th. Show Choir's premiere concert February 3rd at 8 p.m. Delegation First Edition and Limited Edition, as well as the Fine Arts Booster Soup Supper prior to the concert. RCC Honor Band and Choir concert will be held February 11th at 6:30. Beatrice High School Student Services are busy already working on next year's class registrations, and scholarship season is officially begun. Beatrice High School Sports, wrestlers got second at the Invite Saturday. They are ranked 6th in the Class B. Boys and girls basketball teams won at Seward Saturday. They are both ranked in the top 10 in Class B. RCC basketball tournament starts next week. Swimmer, speech team, dance, and cheer squads are continuing working hard.
Thank you very much, Zach. And next, we're going to move on with the board reports. First up, Mr. Winters with the stands report.
Since the stance group doesn't meet until next week for the new session, I have no report.
Really sure. All right, thank you, Steve. And then we'll move on. Mrs. Byers, you have the negotiations committee report.
We had a negotiations meeting this evening and we've reached a tentative agreement.
Thank you. Wow, both reports. I'm trying to stretch this out because our audit report is not here yet. So now we're going to move on to our administrator report.
Yeah, we can do that. You guys were all supposed to talk longer, so we can give him time to get here. He should be here any minute. He said he'd be here by 7:15, so. But I'll go ahead and give you the administrator report. Just some great news. I would echo a lot of what Zach said. So Zach, thank you for the awesome update on what's transpiring amongst our different schools. Huge congratulations to our winter sports teams for all the success they're having. Swimmers, they're also, we've qualified multiple swimmers at this point. I don't know exactly how many, but they're gaining ground on the competition every day, and so we look to qualify a bunch more in the coming weeks. Preschool boiler update. Just a quick note here. As you all know, we were losing about 100 gallons a week of water at the preschool, and right before Christmas, they did some investigation, crawled through the tunnels underneath the building to be able to figure out where the leak was at. Kurt from Johnson Controls and Terry were in charge of that operation, and they did find the leak in one of the pipes that carries water from the boiler down to one of the girls' restrooms. And so when they found the leak, then they cut it off where it was leaking, and they capped the pipe. So that's, the good news is the boiler's fixed in terms of losing water. The bad news is there's heat in the girls' restroom, but it's electric heat, it's not the boiler heat. So as we continue to, the moral of the story is that as we continue to see the age of our buildings increase, we continue to see things like this that happen. We were fortunate this time that the boiler was repairable, and it wasn't a situation where we had to completely replace the entire system. So I know that was on the minds of everybody as we went into the Christmas season and making sure we got that taken care of. Another quick update that I think is a huge success, the West High School door it was coming out of the brick framing, and Terry and Steve were able to work with the company to be able to fix that door. So I know that seems like a little thing, but it's something that every day is kind of a twitch in the schedule because kids can't get in that door to get from the welding shop back into the building. And so they got it all fixed and repaired, so that was good news. I know Terry was really happy with that one. Coming back off of Christmas break, we had awesome professional development by Jen McNally, who a lot of times we think that the local expert has to be over 30 miles away or 100 miles away in order to be the expert. But Jen is an ESU therapist right here at ESU 5 and just did a tremendous job of presenting with staff after Christmas and talking to them about mental health for themselves and their students. She gave us 10 techniques for that, and it was received with tremendous positive response from our staff. So much so that she's being booked for a few more presentations, and I think she's going to do a presentation with her Hope Squad coming up. So she's going to gear her presentation a little more towards students, and we really appreciate the excellent job that she did. Some good news today that Doris passed along to me. We have a 1976 Beatrice Public Schools graduate by the name of Randy Essex, who's been named the new executive editor of the Omaha World Herald. The 2014 edition of The Beat has an article in there about him that I will send out to you. But in there, he really credits the work that our teachers did and how they made a difference in his life to help him to contribute to where he is today. So that was kind of a nice, it's a nice article, and hopefully we get a chance to feature him coming up as well. But I think that's a tribute to our entire staff and the job that they do in making a difference with kids. On a legislative front, just a couple of quick notes. I won't take very long. LB 147 that provides for an alternative, LB 147 had an amendment to it today, and 1803 provides for an alternative to the original bill, LB 147. This is the bill that was written by Senator Groney that changes how students can be removed from a classroom by teachers and not involving administration. So the NASB has negotiated some terms with Senator Groney to make an amendment to that they think will be a better fit. I have not had a chance to read that amendment yet, but this entire bill, in my opinion, has been not very good legislation. So we have been working very hard, very closely with NCSA, NASB, and other organizations, ACLU, to try and make sure that this bill doesn't pass. It continues to engender significant opposition and is unclear if it will have the votes to get out of, to return to the agenda or not, or become a filibuster, being a short session. So, property tax bills, while no official bill has been introduced yet, we have heard the primary bill will come from the Revenue Committee and introduced by Senator Linehan. So we have seen models of different bills. We've seen one from Senator Linehan, one from Senator Boer, and also we've seen one that is from the Open Sky Institute, which probably proves to be the most favorable of the three, but we'll wait and see what the intricacies all are. So that is kind of a quick administrative report on some of the things that we're working on. I do have a thank you card to Jen McNally, just in appreciation for taking the time to spend making our staff at BPS feel more rejuvenated after coming back off of Christmas break and spending time helping our teachers and students learn some mental health intervention strategies that they can use for themselves. So if you don't mind, I will start that and we'll pass that around. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Jason. Okay, now would be a good time for public forum, citizens' requests or comments related to agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to get up and speak this evening?
Thank you for being here.
Well,
We don't have an auditor. Let me check my phone, make sure he's.
Yeah.
we can go ahead and reorganize and
I don't have a message, so.
all right, shall we go ahead and do that?
Sure.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to reorganization of the Board of Education. And as per policy 9115, the Board of Education shall hold its regular annual organization meeting in January, at which time it will elect its officers for the coming calendar year. Jason, would you handle the beginning of the president?
I will. So, at this time, I would open the floor and entertain nominations for President of the Beatrice Public Schools Board of Education.
I'd like to nominate John Zimmerman.
Second.
All right, at this time, I have John Zimmerman nominated for the office of the President for the Board of Education. Are there any other nominations?
I move the nomination cease and we elect John Beckett, consent to have a unanimous vote.
All right, so at this time, I have, I have a nomination that, or I have a motion that nominations cease and a unanimous ballot be cast in favor of John Zimmerman fulfilling the role. Do I have a second? Janet will second it. So Steve made that motion. Janet second. So this time we have a motion and a second for John Zimmerman to fulfill the office of the President for the Beatrice Public Schools Board of Education. I will take your votes. That passes. Congratulations, Mr. President. You may take over the rest of the meeting for the elections.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everyone. Be sure to let me know over the next year if there's anything I can do to improve upon how I run this, fill the position. Now we will move on to electing a vice president. Can I have a nomination for vice president?
I nominate Doris Martin.
I have Doris Martin nominated. Is there anyone else who would like to nominate someone for vice president? Okay, hearing none.
You need a second.
Oh, a second on Doris. Can I have a second for nominating Doris?
Second.
Aaron seconds Doris's nomination.
I'd make the same motion that we cease all nominations and elect Doris by unanimous vote.
All right, we have a motion by Steve to cease. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. May I have your votes, please? That is approved with 7 ayes. Next up, we have our secretary position. Can I have a motion for secretary?
I nominate Jackie Nielsen.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Jackie Nielsen. Are you going to argue, Jackie? All right. Well, then, hearing no others, can I have your votes, please? That is approved of 7 votes as well. Congratulations, Jackie.
Thanks.
Next up, treasurer position. Can I have a nomination for treasurer?
I move that Jason Alexander be appointed as treasurer of the Board of Education contingent upon his or her ability to be bonded. It'd be his ability.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion by Doris and a second by Steve. Any other nominations? Hearing none, can I have your votes, please? And that is approved with 7 votes. Did you notice I didn't ask if you wanted to
Yeah.
back out of that? All right. Next up, we have the committee appointments. We have, from last year, in the school and community and staff relations, we had Janet, Aaron, and Eric. Was there anyone that cared to continue on or change or be on that they weren't? Everyone is okay with continuing on in the same vein?
I will continue.
Aaron, are you still good?
I'm still good. I will say, I think I've missed 2 meetings of the 4 that we had this last year. Is that right? 4 meetings?
Well, I think we've only had 3.
3, okay. Well, I missed a majority of them, so if that's an issue for people, it's not because I didn't want to be there. A lot of times I have work meetings that get in the way, so I'm not always able to be there over the lunch hour.
Well, thank you for going when you do. It's appreciated. Janet, would you be willing to chair that meeting, or that organization as well? Thank you. All right, that takes care of school and community. Next up, we have the Americanism Committee. We had in there Doris Martin was chair, and then also Lisa Pieper and Steve Winter were on there. Was there anyone else who cared to be on there, or anyone who wanted to step down? Or are we all good with continuing?
We're good.
Lisa, are you good with, and Doris? Would you still be chair of that committee?
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we have the negotiations committee. This year it was Janet, Doris, and John. Who else is anxious to get on there?
I don't think a lot of people are.
Anxious is a good word, but
Well, Janet, would you like to be on the negotiations committee?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Doris?
They're getting used to me.
Yes.
All right, anybody else want to? Last chance. Okay, I'll give you another chance. All right, I will take the 3rd spot. So we have Janet, Doris, and John. Janet, would you be willing to head that again? All right. Steve.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have Steve as our NASB legislative delegate. And Government Relations Network representative. Doris, you are currently filling that position.
Yes, but I would like to, for all of you to think about sending me to Washington DC because they send multiple emails out about a meeting in early February that I would be happy to attend. But I will do it without attending the meeting also.
Send you out there to get it straight down.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. With that, we have filled the docket. And now, it is time for our audit report.
We have Mr. Jeff DeLine, yeah, and that microphone will come down, so we've got you on TV as well.
That's all right, we're talking.
Yeah. Jeff DeLine from Dana F. Cole, who conducted our audit this year, was the guy that was here and in the trenches with us. So he will be giving you a more detailed look than what I did, but we appreciate working with him. He gave us some good suggestions. We have some things that we've implemented on his recommendation that we will be sharing with you later on. But Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Jeff DeLine. I'm with Dana Cole and Company. We conducted the audit this year. I do appreciate the opportunity to come down here and work with Jason and Jackie and the rest of the staff. I had the opportunity to not only talk to Jason and Jackie, but I talked to your SPED director and I talked to a couple of other individuals in regards to the fraud and fraud questionnaires. I think, John, I sent you one too. And we did get that back and we're good on that.
You did get it?
I did.
Okay, excellent.
So we're good on that. I think you all should have in front of you pretty much a handout that has a discussion with the board. I think Jason gave that all to you. I'm going to go through this just as it's printed here. If you have any questions as they're going along, I'll stop and I'll clarify anything that you want to be clarified. Or at the end, we can take questions too. So with that, I'll just get started. You hired us to issue an opinion on the financial statements taken as a whole. And that's what we did, and that's what you'll see on pages 1 through 3 of your report, is our auditor's opinion. Basically, all the paragraph kind of gives you a heading and tells you what that paragraph's about. So the paragraph titles will explain the different parts of the independent auditor's report. The opinion paragraph is the one that you care about, and that's on page number 2 on the top there, and you have an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can receive, and that's what you received and that's what you earned. It is an unmodified opinion. What that means is that we did not have to modify any of your financial information on the financial statements in order to make it come into proper standards. You guys put your financial statements together on the cash basis of accounting, which is what the Nebraska Department of Education wants and needs in order for them to put their information into their system to determine who's going to get funding. So that's all part of the calculation. There's also another paragraph on there, it's called the Other Matters paragraph, and in that paragraph it discusses the supplementary information and also including the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, the general fund combining information, and the budgetary comparison schedules. And that's all after the financial statements and the notes to the financial statements. So we get right into it. The financial statements are the primary part of what we put our opinion on, the financial statements and the notes. And they start on page number 4 and they go through page number 10. The first statement that you come to is the statement of activities in that position. It's actually 2 reports in one. Due to the cash basis of accounting, we can put both these reports and combine them together. Pretty much the first thing you'll see on page number 4 is it breaks out the program receipts by function or by program. That should be the program disbursements by program, and then the program receipts that go along with each one of the functions or the program itself. And then in the bottom, after the disbursements, you'll see that what's called the general receipts by major category. That's where you see your property taxes and everything else. In the general receipts, those receipts can be used for any of the programming functions that you have at the school district, whereas the receipts that you see in the program receipts are identified directly for that program or that function. Your change in your net position this year was a negative $377,935, not including the transfers out. That's primarily your operating change. The cash and cash equivalent and the cash at the county treasurer's, which is on the top of page number 6, shows the breakout between what you have on hand in your checking accounts, your CDs, your money market accounts versus what's at the county treasurer at the end of the year. And we all know that you can't actually expend that money until it's received by the school district, but the Department of Education requires us to put that information on there, and that's what we did. It also reflects restricted net assets for debt services, and that's on page 6 in the net position area. And pretty much that's what you are holding back, and you're going to use that for debt service payments down the road. Your next statement is the statement of receipts, disbursements, and changes in fund balances or deficits, and the statement of assets and liabilities or fund balances and deficits. And this report right here is broken out by each one of your individual funds. So this is a good report for the board to look at and see how each individual fund is conducting its operations for the year. It reflects the receipts and the disbursements by each one of those school funds, and it'll show you whether you have an increase or a decrease in that fund balance at the end of the year. And the net change in the fund balance request reflects that amount. In your statement of assets, liabilities, and fund balances, what you'll see it's broken out again by fund, and it shows the beginning or the ending fund balance broken out by cash that you have on hand or cash at the county treasurer. Cash at the county treasurer will only be in the funds that actually do levy a tax, so that's why you'll see those there. All funds except for the cooperative fund has a positive ending fund balance, and I think it's a timing issue. The cooperative fund over time will have those funds come back into it when the agreements and the people that pay into that cooperative fund pay. So over time, it comes in and goes out, comes in and goes out. So that's why you're showing a negative fund balance in that fund right now. Excuse me. And then fund balance is broken out by the proper statement, GASB statement number 54 requirements, which is committed, assigned, or unassigned. The last report you see there is the fiduciary funds, and that's your activities and your flex funds. And primarily, they are fiduciary in form and substance because they cannot be used for the operations that you guys put together in your budget. The flex funds primarily are put in there by the employees of the school district, and the activity funds are to be held for the use of those activities and not for the operations of the school district itself. The interesting thing is on the activities funds, there's a new statement, GASB 84, that's going to require us to reevaluate this, and I've talked to Jason a little bit about this, is those activity funds, if the school district has any ability to route those funds anywhere, then more than likely what they'll do is they'll have to come back into the functions of the school district itself. So therefore, there's two different ways. Either you can put them all in the general fund, but then you would lose kind of control over where those funds are being expended. Or you can bring them into the regular funds and just call it an activities funds. I think the Nebraska Department of Education is trying to figure out how they're going to implement GASB 84 for next year, but it'll have to be implemented next year. So we'll figure that out, Jason and I, and the Department of Education put our heads together to figure out how we're going to disclose that and how it's going to look on the report. Okay. The notes to the financial statement start on page number 11 and go through page number 24. And the notes are primarily used to better explain what the actual numbers are that you see on the financial statements. And they're for significant numbers, not all numbers. The notes are primarily the same as they were in the previous year, and the updates for the current year activity. Note number 1 is an important thing because that's a significant accounting policies of the school district itself. So if you have an opportunity, read through note number 1, and I'll tell you what kind of activity or what kind of policies that the school district has put in place in order to ensure that all the information, all the financial information is kept in the proper format, in the proper fund, and where it needs to be. Note number 2 reflects that you are fully covered with the FDIC or securities pledged in the name of the school for balances exceeding FDIC coverage. That's required by state law. Banks know it, all political subdivisions pretty much know it, is that if they have money in a bank and it exceeds FDIC coverage, they're required to go to the bank and explain to them, if they don't already know, that they're required to give them pledged collateral in the name of the school district or in the name of the political subdivision for the amount to cover the coverage over FDIC. And yours has, so you're fully covered. That way, if there was ever be a bank failure or something similar to that, the school district would not lose their funds. Note number 3, this is required by Government Accounting Standards Board. It's a retirement footnote. We get the information from the Department of Education, and we get the information from the school district. The information that comes from the Department of Education is the format. they like to see this format so that they can get the information that they need in the notes to the school district's financial information. And then we pull the information as far as expenditures from the school district's financial information. Note number 4 is your long-term debt, and it reflects the fiscal year-end balances for each debt outstanding. You do have 2 bonds outstanding and a note payable outstanding. One of the bonds is a lump sum payment at the end, and I believe that's the first one you'll see there. It's a $1.68 million bond, and that has a lump sum payment, and it's due on 2026, if I remember right, 2026. Yeah. So that's something to take into consideration. I know it's 6 years down the road, but I'm pretty sure some refinancing or something significant will occur before that time. That's when you all hit the lottery and you'll put your money into the school district.
So,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. Note 5 describes the bus leasing commitment remaining for the life of that bus leasing commitment that you signed new last year. Notes number 6 and number 7 are common notes to all schools. They just talk about the risk assessment, and they talk about items that are required to be discussed for standards. Note number 8 reflects the transfers for the years. And note number 9 discusses the new issues and adopted governmental accounting pronouncements that were issued during the year. So. Next is the supplementary information. It starts on page number 25 and goes through page number 48. Primarily what you'll see there is, the first thing you'll see there is a schedule of expenditures of federal awards, and it reflects the amount of federal expenditures that occurred during the year to include the notes following the schedule. This is very important because you guys are required to have what's called a single audit or a single audit act, and we come in and we do additional procedures. We identify major programs within the school district, and we audit them on compliance requirements. So that means I get to talk to the SPED director, I get to talk to the Title I director, and I get to ask them how the program is coordinated and how it's functioning to ensure that they're in compliance with the federal compliance requirements that follow that program. The next schedule you'll see is the general fund component schedule, and basically it combines the general, the depreciation, and the employee benefit funds together as required by the Nebraska Department of Education. It takes that total number there and it puts it in as a general fund and your financial statements on the front. So if you're wondering, well, why does the general fund look differently than what you see maybe in your budget or something like that? Because it also includes the depreciation fund and it includes the employee benefit fund. Nebraska Department of Education has stated in their rules and regulations that the depreciation fund and the employee benefit fund will be part of the general fund when it's on the financial statements. However, you still have to budget for all of course. Then the last part you'll see on pages 29 through 48 are your all funds budgetary comparison schedules. And this is an important management tool for the board because you can look and go through there and make a determination of how each one of the funds reacted or how the operations were as opposed to how you budgeted for them or how you forecasted for each one of the funds to operate. And it'll give you a management tool to move forward if you have to make some changes or do any changes to your current year budget. The first report that you get to is a report required by government auditing standards. And it does reflect the significant deficiency in internal controls that was identified. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. But there were no non-compliance issues that were identified in that report. The next report you come to is a report of compliance for each major program on internal controls or compliance required by uniform guidance. And this is a report that we have to issue in addition to the government auditing standards report because of the single audit requirement. And this one has an unmodified opinion on the compliance with major programs, and that's what we want to see. In other words, we felt, based upon our procedures, based upon our testing, based upon everything that we did, our discussions with the Title I director and the SPED director, that all the compliance requirements for those programs were being followed. And did not identify any material weaknesses and internal controls over those major programs. When we're doing a single audit, it's more of a specific look at the programs itself rather than a wide, broad look at the school district itself. The next thing you come to is the schedule of findings and questions cost. It's on pages 53 through 56. Basically, the first thing you see is a summary of the auditor's report results. Identified the significant deficiencies in internal controls regarding the financial statement audit, and no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were noted in the audit of the federal awards. Again, I told you already, but the major programs this year were the Title I program and the SPED program. The financial reporting process finding is one that we find at most of our schools. And primarily what that says is we'd like to work towards the district writing their own report, at least writing the financial statements of their own report. This year, the district was required to upload the AFR onto the Nebraska Department of Education portal directly from their accounting system. So writing the financial statements would be the next step in the process, we believe. We had some fun this year, getting the school district's information on their software to match exactly what it needed to be to match our financial statements in order for them to upload directly from their software onto the Nebraska Department of Ed portal. This was an interesting year because this was the first year that Nebraska Department of Education required that. But I'll tell you what, Jackie and Jason both worked very hard doing what was necessary to get their financial information to match exactly what my financial information matched that was going exactly on the financial statements. So we had a few late evenings and frustrations, but we made it through the end of the day.
We made it through,
We did. It was a learning experience for all of us.
as I'm sure it was for a lot of districts across the state.
Yes, it was. There was a lot of gnashing of teeth, I think.
Yep.
Well, that's all I have. If there is any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer any of those.
I have one, and it's a pretty easy one, but on the single audit, there's calculation limits on those, if that makes sense. I mean, you have to be above a certain amount, just to before a single audit kicks in.
That's correct.
Do you see the single audit being the same federal programs next year?
No, it won't be the same federal programs.
Okay.
More than likely, what we see in a lot of our school districts that have to have a single audit's required if you have over $750,000 in expenditures of federal funds. For most of our school districts, you'll see the Title I, the SPED, and then you'll see the lunch program. Those are the major ones. But every once in a while, you'll get a large federal program. If you remember back in, I think it was 2008, 2009, 2010, when the federal government came out with a big bunch of money.
Stimulus money?
The stimulus money.
Yep.
That brought a lot of new programs in that we hadn't seen for a while.
Yeah.
Which was really fun.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's the SPED, the Title I, and also the lunch program. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And Jeff, your idea of fun is a lot different than mine. But thank you very much for all of your assistance this year. With all the coding changes and everything that we did at NDE's request and changes in ESSA coding and everything, Jackie Bornemeyer we'd have been lost without her. I will say that, and she did a fantastic job, but we'd have been lost without you too, so we appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you. But I do appreciate you and really Jackie. Jackie really stuck it out there all the way to the end, even though it was getting late.
It was getting late, but
We made it.
Yeah.
All your reports were filed on time, so, at least before the deadline. So,
Well, I must say that was the best audit report I think we've gotten since I've been on the board. By that, I mean, you actually explain it to where we can understand it. I understand a lot of it, so I appreciate that from my standpoint, so. Not that it's fun, but at least I understand it a little better, so.
You gotta say it different. Well, that's fun. That's true. Yeah. Well, you're welcome.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Thank you for
I
a
think
very
you're-
fun report.
One of two of us really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Now I gotta make my way back.
Safe trip home.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will move on to the action portion. First up, the approval of Jason Alexander. Can I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve Jason Alexander as the district's federal grant representative and financial representative.
Second.
I have a motion by Doris, a second by Steve. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, votes are, yeah, that is approved. Next up, approval of depository banks. Can I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 name the following as the depository banks for Beatrice Public Schools: Pinnacle Bank, Security First Bank, First National Bank of Omaha, Beatrice Branch, and Bank of the West.
Second.
I have a motion by Doris, a second by Steve. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, can I have your votes, please? We have 6 yes and 1 abstention. Next up, approval of the audit. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the 2018-19 financial audit as presented.
Motion by Doris, can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Any comments or questions on that? Hearing none, can I have your votes, please? That is passed with 7 votes. All right. Administrator's report, did you take care of that earlier? All right. Then we are down to the notification of our next meeting. The next regular Board of Education meeting will be February 10th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be January 23rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. I would now take a motion to go into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation for the protection of public interest and/or the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual, and if such individual has not requested a public meeting.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 move into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation for the protection of public interest and/or the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual, and if such individual has not requested a public meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second by Steve. And can I have your votes? That is approved with 7 votes. We are going into executive session. We will take a break for 5 minutes, and then we will go in. Okay. Did anybody have any desire for Jason to stay here to answer any questions, or is he free to go?